Thank you for having me. It's a big honor to be here. There are a few places in the country like CHAZAQ that are constantly trying to create programs to enlighten and inspire so many of us. And so to be able to in any way be associated with CHAZAQ, especially in this month, as we get closer and closer to the time in which we stand before God, and show Him just how much we tried to be inspired this year. So you have the opportunity to be able to speak here. So I thank you, and thank you everyone for having me. And it's a big honor to be here in Beit Gabriel, again, a home of true Torah. Should be zoche, everyone here, to have a place of good things and simcha and bracha this year and every year to come. Amen. So when I grew up, I really had one love, one passion. As a kid, every morning I grew up, and the first thing I did was I turned around and I gave it a kiss. And I took my orange basketball with me everywhere I went. And we went to breakfast together, and he had Wheaties, of course, because Michael Jordan ate Wheaties. And we went to school together, and we dribbled, and we hung out, we laughed, we cried. It was wonderful. We got home, I tucked him in bed. And then day after day after day, from when early as I can remember, until I got a little more mature, my whole life revolved literally around basketball. And if you're a basketball fan, you understand that every month is wonderful. There's one month that rises from the rest. Anybody know what that month is? March. Why? Because there's something called March Madness. What happens is, during the month of March, all the colleges come together for an NCAA tournament, and somewhere mid-month, they play basketball every hour, on the hour, all over the country. They're diving on the floor, they're sweating, they're crying, they're hugging. It's the greatest basketball spectacle of the year. And you know, around mid-March, if you can, you cut school, you watch TV, you go all late at night, you wake up in the morning, your whole life gets to revolve around basketball. To this day, I don't watch as much, I got to tell you, or at all. But something amazing happens. Today, when March hits, I see it on the calendar. I'm not watching March Madness. I get this feeling of, all right, it's March. There's something about March, forever and ever and ever, has been emboldened in my consciousness that it's the month of joy. It's the month of happiness. I don't know what it is. When it turns from February to March, and I look down, I immediately smile. If you would have to take all the Jewish months and rank them by which is the month that when you see it, your first reaction is smiling, where would Elul fall out? Number 10, 11, or 12? From every month we have months that we like. Nisan's a good one because there's no Tachanun and we get to go away for Pesach. And there's other good ones that we have, maybe Mar Cheshvan because, we get to be left alone a little bit. There's different things that we have on the list of favorite months. I can tell you what's not in the top 10. Elul. I have never in my life been in a shul when they bench Rosh Chodesh Elul and everyone goes, yes, it's about time. You can almost feel the collective groan that it's Elul. But we can't say it out loud because we're scared we're going to get zapped, so we keep it quiet. I've never heard someone when shofar is blown in shul and we say LeDavid, they're like, it's about time we say LeDavid. I missed this all year long. I'm looking forward to saying LeDavid. Almost time for Slichos, and if you're Sephardi, it happens right away. And if you're half and half, you wait till you push it for the Ashkenaz because you only get a week. And then everyone does the cheshbon. Wow, this year it's Monday, so we have an extra day at Slichos. Oh my gosh. If you think about how we react to Elul, what are the reactions that we have? Fear, guilt, worry, anxiety. Here we go again. And we have this sense, maybe some people are different, the people that I speak to. Maybe we don't say it out loud. But we have this sense of dread, of I hope it's going to be okay, of worry, of really what's going to happen to me is I really have two choices. Benoni or Russia. Tzaddik, forget that. That is not in the cards. So I'm going to do whatever I can to get into the middle book, or I hope and pray to get out of the bad book. And maybe I can survive in the middle. And when all is said and done, God will just grant me the middle, the Benoni, and I will come out okay. And we feel this way. We don't say it, but we feel this way. And it doesn't feel good. In psychology, it's called cognitive dissonance. It's a psychological term for when you're trying to hold various things in your mind that conflict. It doesn't feel right. There's a famous a fable called Aesop had a famous fable of the fox and the grapes, where a fox was walking down the street, down the garden, and he tried to reach for some grapes, and he jumped and he jumped and he jumped, and he couldn't reach it, and finally concluded that grapes must be sour anyways. I can't handle the fact that I can't be great at something. I can't handle the fact that I'm scared about something. I can't be wrong. We could be wrong. You ever get into an argument with somebody, and they have their point? What do? We wait till they're done, and then we convince them why we're right. And then they go, and we wait till they're done, and we're like, hello, how are you not hearing me? And here comes Elul. This month where we're told again and again and again that Yom Hadin is coming. God is coming, and He's making sure that He is going to collect judgment. And the feeling we have during Elul is not March Madness. We're not jumping for joy. We're not excited that we're here, and even more excited that it's almost time for the 10 days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. But what's amazing is that if you look at CHAZAQ, and you look at the way they describe Elul, it's exactly the opposite from the way we feel. Probably the most famous acronym in the entire CHAZAQ is this month. They say, what does Elul stand for? Ani l'dodi v'dodi li. And when Hebrew, it doesn't mean anything to us. But if you think about it in English, I am for my beloved. That is like a romantic line. If we saw that in a card, we would buy it on our anniversary. It is romance. I am for my beloved, and my beloved is for me. We're talking about love. We're talking about relationships. The sign, the sign for Elul is a basula, is a virgin. It symbolizes marriage. What's going on during Elul in history? Moshe is upstairs. At this point, Bnei Yisrael was sinned through in Shiva B'Tammuz. And if you look at the Gemara in Shabbos, Gemara in Gittin, it says that it was like as if they had committed adultery under the chuppah. And Moshe is spending this month fixing the relationship. This is marriage counseling. This is rekindling of love. This is romance. This is excitement. When Chazal say to us, Elul is coming, their feeling is so far from our feeling. How? How do we get there? How do we walk out of here tonight? Not in 2 weeks, because it's too late. How do we walk out of here tonight? And the feeling that we have is aligned with what we're supposed to have. The feeling that we naturally feel is not more fear, is not more dread, is not more, I'm just average. How do we leave here tonight and feel ani l'dodi v'dodi li? And feel like the basul, like a bride would feel when her wedding day is in 2 weeks, and it's by the engagement party, and like they're 2 inches apart. If this is like an engagement party, they're like 2 inches apart from each other, the chas and the kala, the whole time. And you're like, guys, please, can you separate a drop? In love. How do we feel that way about Hashem? So to understand this, we have to understand what relationships are. And to understand relationships, we have to understand love. That's what I want to talk to you tonight about. What is love, according to the Torah? We know what it's like according to Hollywood. What's it according to the Torah? So if you look in the Torah, you see something amazing when it comes to love. The Torah says, what we have, maybe the most famous line that we have when it comes to love is V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Which is a crazy line in itself, because the way it's even structured makes no sense. V'ahavta is a command. L'reacha, your beloved kamocha like you. 2 questions. Number 1, how could you command me how to feel? You can't tell me my emotions. How I feel is how I feel. Love is an option. You're going to tell me that I am commanded to feel an emotion? One thing Judaism does not do is tell you how to feel. You don't have a place like in the siddur where you're walking and in the siddur you're davening. It's like, you're doing great, by the way. Sniffle. This is good. Time to sniffle. Okay, can we get a cry going? Wonderful. A tear. 3 steps back. Excellent. Get a cry. Awesome. Book of life. You win. Exit left. Next person. Doesn't work that way. God can't tell us how to feel. Except they say, V'ahavta. L'reacha. How? Kamocha. Like me? Let's be straight. Me and me spend a lot of time together. Nobody knows me like me. When I wake up, it's with me. When I go to sleep, it's with me. How in the world can I really love somebody the way we know and love ourselves? So let's understand love from the first place we learned it from. Let's understand it from our parents. Because if you look at every single relationship in the world, there's one relationship that seems to be totally lopsided. You know what I'm talking about? Parents to children, am I right? You see parents giving to kids like crazy, right? All day they give. I don't know why parents have the second kid. The one kid, we're not sure. But the second one, we should have learned that lesson. You know what I'm talking about? You have the kid and every second you're giving and you're worrying and they're crying and it's first grade and second grade and then what's going to be and oh my gosh and you're worried. The whole life revolves around this one child. And finally they get older and like they buy the ufruf, you know what I'm talking about? And they stand up and they go, oh yeah, thank you, my Rebbe's, my best friends. And thank you, Mom and Dad, for everything. And the mom's like, oh, you're welcome. Yes, no problem. Absolutely. More. You know what I'm saying? And then like you call your mom once in a while. She's like, thank you so much for calling me. And I'm like, I am the best son ever. That was 47 minutes on my cell phone. 47 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Like parents go crazy for their kids. The most ultimate relationship of love that we see out there is parents to children. So if we understand that relationship, we can understand how love works. So let me tell you a story. You may have heard this one before. I read this in the book, so it must be true. There's a famous story out there of a guy who was getting on a train. He's going down from New York to Washington, D.C., Amtrak train in the afternoon. Thursday afternoon, packed train, 5 o'clock. Businessman gets on the train, can't find the seat. People are standing. He's like, I gotta go stand till Washington. And he gets on, he's so upset, and finally he sees that there's an open space in one of the chairs, one of the seats. So he goes up to the space. As he goes up to the space, he realizes why it's open for. Because sitting at the window was some kid with like a hood over his head. He looked like his eyes were blacked out. He was tapping the walls, biting his fingernails. Looked like he was on drugs. And as the man was about to back away, the kid looked at him and he felt guilty, so he like slithers into his seat. And then the conductor comes on and goes, all aboard, and the train goes. And they're going 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The guy's reading his Wall Street Journal, staring at the kid the whole time. The kid looks at him, he looks back. And he looks at him and goes, son, can I help you? He goes, man, just leave me alone. He goes, okay. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, looks at me and goes, son, can I help you with something? I mean, he goes, just don't even think about it. Don't bother yourself. He goes, I'm staring at you the whole time anyways. At least let me help you. He goes, I'd tell you my story, but you wouldn't believe me. He goes, I got 3 hours left. I'm staring at you. Tell me your story. So he goes, I'll tell you. So sitting there and the train's going by, passing Newark. And the kid goes, I grew up in a small town outside Baltimore. And I grew up, I got to tell you, I had no friends. Nobody. Every night by myself, every weekend by myself. I had no friends, I had nothing. And my parents, they both were teachers. They didn't make a lot of money. And they saw that I really didn't have any friends to hang out with, to play with. I wasn't involved in any teams. So one day they came home and they said, son, we've saved all of our savings and we got you what's called a personal computer. They didn't have those back then. And he goes, what's that? And he goes, it's yours, it's a computer, it's just so you can play with, you can learn from. He goes, my whole life, I couldn't believe it. And I sat in front of that computer for hours. And here I was, a small kid growing up in Baltimore. And I only had two loves. The Baltimore Orioles and my computer. And every day and every night I'd watch games and play on the computer, and I'd watch more games and play on the computer. And nothing I loved more than to track my players. I would follow their stats. I'd find out how many runs and hits. I'd figure out their ERAs. And I would spend time on this computer to the point in which I was able to program a way to almost automatically update everyone's scores so that it would track it automatically. Because one day my cousin, it was Thanksgiving, and my cousin came in from New York, and he was so cool. Nothing like me. He had the best clothes, and he had all the friends. And he comes into my room, and he looks at me and goes, what are you doing? He goes, what do you mean? He goes, what are you doing with your life? He goes, not much. I go, I love the Orioles, I love my computer, and I figured out a way to track players automatically on my computer. And he goes, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, I have an idea. Why don't we take your program and create a .com? And he goes, what's a .com? He goes, you stick with me. We're going to be rich. So he goes up to New York. He starts some company. I don't know what it is. You got to sign up for it. And all of a sudden, to sign up for my program where you can automatically get all these stats, you pay me a fee. And I come home one day from school. I'm in 10th grade. And there's a letter for me. I open the letter, and it's $100. And I'm like, oh my gosh, someone actually subscribed? The next day, another $100. And then $200 and $300 and $400. And before you know it, I was making $1,000 a week. And the money was coming and coming and coming and coming. I couldn't believe it. I was making more money. I didn't know what to do. And all of a sudden, I had all these friends now. I went to the mall and everyone came with me. I had these clothes and I went to the movies. And my parents said to me, listen, if you like computer, study. And I turned to them and I go, what do you know about being a parent? I make more money than both of you together. Why don't you parent the other kids? I can take care of myself. My parents would get frustrated. I'd come home later. I'd be louder. I'd go out later at night. And I'd come home, my parents say to me, listen, if you're good at computers, you could be something big. And I'd say to me, do me a favor, worry about the kids. I can handle myself. I can take care of them, just me. Thank you very much. And we started fighting, and it got worse and worse and worse. And one day I looked at my parents and I said, I am out of here. And I took my knapsack and my checks. I was making a fortune, and I went up to the city, and I got this beautiful loft downtown. And I had parties, and I furnished it. And everything was great. And one day, my cousin came in. And I'll never forget the look on his eyes. He sat down on my couch, and he gave me that look, and I said, what happened? And he goes, do you have any other programs that you know how to make? And I said, nope. He goes, do you have any other things you know how to do? I said, I did this once. He goes, I got some bad news. He goes, what's the bad news? He goes, well, the program that we're charging for is now available online for free. We're done. And I said, no way. And just like that, $1,000 a week, $500, $200, $100, and just like it started, it stopped. Nothing left. And I sold my couches, I sold my apartment. And before you know it, I was begging on the street corners, I was playing guitar in the subways, I tried to get a job, but I had no skills. I had left home when I was in high school. I couldn't do anything. And I sat down together, and after trying to beg, I was on the bottom of the bottom. I took to whatever I had left in my guitar case, and I went to Amtrak, and I bought a one-way ticket to Washington. And I sat down on the bench, and I wrote my parents a letter. I said, dear Mom and Dad, I know that I was less than good as a child. And I know that I wasn't a great influence on my brothers and sisters. But I got nothing left. And I bought a ticket to Washington, and I remember on the way down to Washington, there's a stop in Baltimore. And I remember before the train pulls in on Baltimore, there's a big tree. If you want me home, put one white flag in front of the big tree. And if you don't, and I would understand, just don't put anything. I'll take the train past Baltimore. I'll go to Washington and see if I can start a life over there. So the man looks at him and says, so what'd they say? And the kid said, I'm on the train right now. And the man started fidgeting and going crazy. And the train pulls in, and the conductor says, next stop, Baltimore. And the train is pulling and getting closer and closer and closer. And as it gets closer and closer, as they're turning the bend, they come right around the bend. And as you turn that bend, the tree is right there. And as they turn the bend, the son says, I can't look, I can't look, I can't look. And he puts his head down. And the man says, I'm going to look for you. And as the train pulls right around, the guy looks from his seat. He asks up. He goes, was there a white flag? And the train turns around. And the man looks at him and says, no, they didn't leave a white flag by the tree. And he goes, what? And the train pulls around, and as the train pulls around, he sees that the entire tree is covered in white. And as the train pulls to the stop, there's two older people with their eyes full of tears and their arms wide open as the train doors open, greeting their son. What is it about parents that they go crazy for their kids? Why do parents do everything for their children for nothing back? All they care about is that the kids are okay. All they want is the kids to be happy. They give and they give and they give. They love and they love and they love. And what do they get back for it? They don't need anything back. They just give and give. It is the ultimate love relationship. Why? Because parents follow what is the true Torah definition of love. We walk around the streets and they tell us, every single billboard, every single song, every single movie, they tell us, you know what love is? It's the way you make me feel. And we think that's what love is. And as soon as that feeling stops, we lose the love. That's not love. That could be affection or attraction or lust. It may be something, but it's not love. Love starts in one way. The ahavta. It's an obligation. It's a commitment. Something happens in the minds of the parents when they conceive a child. They decide that I don't care what's going to happen. I am going to love this child. You ever stop a pregnant woman on the street? Try this. Don't do this at home. Stop a pregnant woman on the street and say, "Hi, how are you? B'shah tov." She goes, "Hi, how are you? Wonderful." And you go, "So you're having a baby. What is it?" She goes, "I don't know." You're like, "Yeah, right. Seriously, what are you having?" And she goes, "Are you going to love it?" She's like, "Excuse me? Are you going to love it?" She's like, "What are you, nuts? What if the kid's not cute? What if he's a brat? What if he's not as cute as the neighbor's kid? Are you going to love?" She's like, "What are you, crazy?" You'll never see a mom come home to like a 3-year-old and go, "Honey, can we have a conversation for a second? Yeah, come here. Put the stuff down. This isn't working out, me and you. We tried. And, I want to be friends. Let's be friends. It's me, not you. It's me. Why don't we just separate for a few minutes and then we'll get together on Yantifs?" Are you crazy? Fathers are crazy for their kids. Something happens where we decide that no matter what happens when that kid comes out, he's our kid. Come rain or shine. No matter what he is, no matter what his capabilities are, I am behind him. A mother came up to me before I even walked in and said, "I got a child here, I want to help him out." I'm like, this is what it means to be a mother. This is what it means to be a parent. You commit. And once you commit, something amazing happens. The minute you commit to somebody, something happens to us. We start to identify with them. They start to become a part of us. You ever play this game with people? This is an amazing game we play. The kid comes home from the hospital, he's like a day old, he looks like an alien like the rest of them, you know what I'm saying? And then they play the game of who does he look like, right? Oh my God, it's your family, it's your family, it's your family. I think he has your nose, I think he has yours. The kid looks like every other kid in the hospital. If you didn't have a tag around the leg, you'd bring him a wrong kid. They all look exactly the same, you know what I'm saying? We have this obsession to have like a contest, which family he looks like. I'll never tell you, I've got to tell you a great story. I don't know if we've said this before, but I have a very interesting history. Half my family comes from Aleppo, Syria. Half my family comes from Munkach. You know what I'm saying? Which makes me a walking United Nations. It's wonderful. I'll never forget when my first son was born, God bless him. My grandfather comes from Munkach, comes to me and goes, "Charlie, Tata Lakam, let's take a walk." We walk to the nursery. He looks into the thing and he goes, "You see that, boy?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Let me tell you something. That kid's got a Munkacher nose. I know them. I was from there. That nose is a Munkacher nose." I said, "I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but okay." He goes, I'm like, "Okay, Munkacher nose." As he says it, the nurse bangs on the thing, goes bang, bang, bang. "Can I help you?" I go, "Yeah, Harary." He goes, "Harari's on the other side." Why do we do this for? Why is it my wife calls me up and says, "Charlie, come home quickly, your son is burning the house down." My first reaction is, that is right, he's burning the house down. That is my boy. Why do I have the need? Why do we feel the need to constantly identify with our children? It's because they're a part of us. They're one with us. When you commit to something, when you commit to someone, it's not how they make you feel. It's not what they do for you. It's what you do for them. You're a part of them. They're a part of you. You can sit and see Jeffrey Dahmer's mom, like stories of these people that come into courtrooms and they're like, "My son's a good boy." And they're like, "Mrs. Dahmer, he killed 100 people." He goes, "Well, why can't he be a butcher? He's very good at cutting." And they're like, "Mrs. Dahmer, I don't think so." Because we're connected to them. You hear stories of Ravi Levine, who he goes to the doctor with his wife, and he goes, "Doctor, our leg hurts. I'm committed to my wife so much. She's not what she does for me. This is my life. This is my commitment no matter what. We're one person. We're one family. I am nothing without her. We're one, I identify." The way it really works in Torah, the way love really works, is that as soon as we have the ahafta, as soon as we commit to something, as soon as we give to something, Rav Dessler writes in his Kunshus HaChesed, that if you want to love a Jew, it's 3 words. Have a no-say v'no-sein. If you want to truly feel love for your brother and sister, you don't take from them. It should be that the more they give to you, the more you should like them. But that's not how it works. The way it really works is the more you give to somebody, the more you give to someone, the more you sacrifice to someone, the more you love them, the more you connect to them. That's how true souls connect. Bodies connect by taking. Souls connect by giving. And Rav Dessler writes, if you really want to see what it means, why we have Avas Chinam for, because only through Avas Chinam, through giving, are we able to fully connect to each other. That's truly how love works. That's why parents go crazy for kids. That's why couples that give to each other have the best marriages. And couples that wait for the other person to give to me and respect me are sitting around wondering why they don't feel anything for. And that's why parents, when they get older and kids start to give to parents like crazy, the kids say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much I love my parents so much, because now I give to them. It's by committing and giving. By nullifying ourselves for those in which we love, do we finally get the schus, do we finally get the privilege to know what it's like to feel love for another person. And you see people like this all the time. They are ultimate takers. They take and take and take and take, and they are never happy. There's always a gripe with them. Someone's always offending them. And they can't take any more. And you want to say to them, just turn around and give. You don't know how good it is. You don't know what you're missing. True love, according to Torah, is when we give. True love is when we nullify ourselves. And as soon as we're able to do that, something weird happens. We connect. We identify. We become like one with them. The mistake we make in relationships is that we think that relationships is about perfection. It's not. We can forgive people that make mistakes. Relationships is about commitment. When you're with somebody, to the extent in which they commit to you, you feel it. To the extent in which you commit to them, you feel it. And that is the essence of what is the thing that we all want in life, which is relationship. That is the essence of the thing which we all want in life, which is love. It follows a pattern. We give, we commit, and then we identify. What is Elul all about? So the Sfas Emes says, in his way, the Sfas Emes says that Elul comes down to what's called a Kri Uksiv. There's a time in which, when you look at the pasuk for something, it's written one way, but it's pronounced with the explanation of something totally different. There's one line in the 100th parak of Tehillim, in the parak of Mizmor Lesoda. It says, Du'u ki Hashem hu Elokim. Know that Hashem is the God. Hu asanu. He made us. V'lo anachnu. The way it is written is V'lo anachnu lamid aleph. We are nothing. The way we pronounce it, the understanding of the verse, is V'lo anachnu lamid vav. We are His. And the Sfas Emes, who quotes the Chidush Harim, says that if you take those two words, the Kri Uksiv, the lo and the lo, the Lamed Aleph and the Lamed Vav, those words, Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed, spells Elul. If you want to understand what truly is going on in Elul, is that dichotomy. The ability of saying lo anachnu and lo anachnu. We are nothing and we are His. What's really going on in Elul is not sitting around and being scared. And it's not sitting around and saying, let me say some meaningless Hebrew words so the God in heaven, who's apparently in a bad mood, will put me in the book of life. Or maybe, if I'm lucky, the Benoni book. It's not sitting around and saying, oh my God, I feel so guilty, I'm sorry. Oh my God, I thought the wrong thought. I hope He doesn't punish me. That's not Elul. That's not even Judaism. I don't know what that even is. What is Elul? Elul is this. It's the ability for us to understand and to decide if we are willing to go lo anachnu, to nullify ourselves for Him. Are we committed to Him? Is my life really about me and what I need and I want? And I want stuff. So here comes the time of year where I gotta get stuff. I want health and happiness and good things, and I want good things for my family and my friends. I want good stuff. So He's given out good stuff. So let me do whatever He wants from me. I'll say whatever He needs me to say. I'll click on Amazon Spiritual Shopping, whatever He wants me to do. I'll fast, I'll eat, I'll dance, I'll shake, I'll do whatever you want. I'll cut this, I'll do. Just give me what I need. Put me in the book of all the good stuff.
For that, it's really just about us. It's my life. This is the time of year I got to go to my boss and get my bonus. But it's about me. And God and the Chazal say, if this is how you feel, you're missing it. Elul is when we grapple, when we stay up late at night, when we lose sleep over this one concept. And we committed to Him. Look at what He does for us every second. He lets me breathe. He gives me a life. He gives me my talents. He gives me my family. Is my life for Him or is my life for me? Do I think about Him? Am I worried about Him? Do I look around to those people that are so disconnected from Him? Does it even bother me? Am I trying to get closer to Him? It's not about perfection, because guess what? We're not perfect. And we're never going to be perfect. If we're alive, then we're not perfect. And He doesn't want perfection. God doesn't look at us and say, be perfect. Sanitize yourself till you sit around and you don't feel. That's not what He's looking for. He's okay with us being human. He's okay with us falling down. Like my son said to me today, is the purpose of my little son said, is the purpose of life not to do an Aveira? I said, the purpose of life is to grow. We try to stay away from Aveiras, but that the purpose of life is to get close to Him. And we're going to fail, or we're going to fall, or we're going to try, or we're going to mess up. We're human beings. He doesn't come Rosh Hashanah and God goes, how come you weren't perfect this year? He's not looking for perfection. He's looking for commitment. He's looking for a Jew that stands up and says, I just want you. I wasn't perfect this year, but I'm trying. You run this whole world. I can't believe that I'm part of this nation. I can't believe that the creator of the universe. I just can't believe that I'm part of His nation. And I wasn't perfect. But I'm living for you. I'm totally committed to you. I am totally lo anachnu. I am nullified for you. And when we feel nullified for Him, what happens is something crazy happens. Then lo anachnu comes in, lamed vav. We become a part of Him. You're a part of your children's life. They win, you win. You're not competing with your kids. You're a part of your parents' life. They win, you win. Now I'll tell you a very sad story. I had a friend of mine, God blessed him with a lot of resources, a lot of money. And his son, he's a good kid, his son went to Israel. When he went to Israel, he got married there. And he decided that his parents' lifestyle was, I guess, not for him. Fine. Kids can do such things. God bless them. So every year he came in once a year, at the end of August, to see his parents. He lives in Israel, lives in a very, one area of Israel. His wife isn't so happy with the family, she has to come to America. Whatever, they come. And the father supports the kids. And he's a close friend of mine. We do business together. And one day he comes to me and he says, he looked terrible. And I said, what happened? He goes, yesterday my kids came from Israel. I said, wonderful. He said, almost. He said, outside my room is a deck. And by the way my house is situated is I have a deck outside my room. Off my room is a private deck, which goes into the driveway. And I was outside having a cup of coffee in the morning, and my kids landed from JFK, and they pulled into the driveway. And they get out of the car, and my kids, my daughter turns to my son turns to my daughter and says, listen, it's just 2 weeks. I know we're not happy to be here. Just keep your mouth closed, and we'll get supported all year. Just do what you do, say what you say. He goes, Charlie, my heart couldn't have broken into more pieces. We walk up to God, seriously, and we walk in Elul, and God looks into our hearts, and we think to ourselves, I don't want to be here. 10 days, I don't want to be here. I can't wait for Motzei Yom Kippur. Why is Motzei Yom Kippur the best night of the year? Longest part on the calendar from the next Yom Kippur. You know what I'm talking about? I don't want to be here. I got to pray, and I got to feel bad, and this and that. But you know what? I got to get stuff this year. I got to get supported. I need health. I need stuff. So let me go through those motions and nod my way through. And God's looking down and going, really? I am your Father. I give my life to you. I care about you. I want a relationship with you. You're walking in at the end of the year and you're coming into Elul and you're not happy to see me? For real? You can literally walk into Rosh Hashanah and give me that look of, oh my God, it's almost over. Say some words that you didn't even have the time to figure out what they mean. You're really showing up and you're going to ask for stuff and you're going to walk away and get ready for me to be done? To your dad? For real? This is the month where we don't do that. This is the month where we grapple with love. This is the month where we say, it's not going to be like this year. I may not say every word by heart. I may not know every word in Hebrew. I'm going to try my best. But I know one thing, God. You don't need me to be perfect. You need me for me. You want your daughter to step up and say, I love you, Dad. You want your son to step up and say, this year I'm going to try to be better. I'm just going to try to get closer to you. There's something, I just feel lucky to be part of your presence. I'm going to do my best. But in truth, I don't need your stuff. I want stuff, but I need you. And God looks around and goes, is there a Jew that can stand up and say that to me? And Chazal say, this is Elul. It's love. It's the Basula. It's the couple that gets engaged and can't wait to get married. It's the Hani Ladodi. It's the parent that will raise a child no matter what and think about them every second. And when we reach that level, when we can literally go through this month and spend 5 minutes thinking about it at work and on the train and at night, when we can spend this month really getting real with God, to a point in which we say, you are the creator of the universe, how lucky am I that I get to be part of your kingdom. I am in. I don't know what that means for me, but I can tell you that I want in. A couple that walks under the chuppah doesn't know what it means to be married. All we know is that they want in. And if we can get to wanting in 30 days, and we walk into Rosh Hashanah with that one feeling, God says, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. Some passion. Some love for my kids. That's the prep for Elul. It's love. It's ladodi. It's v'yahavta. It's Hashem Elokecha. B'chol levavcha. U'b'chol nafshecha me'odecha. It's everything. Why don't we feel that way for? Why don't we naturally feel that? So I'll tell you a story. Then I'll conclude. So there's an organization in the 5 towns that deals with kids, and I hate this term, but I have to use it just because we don't have the time to talk about it. It's called Kids at Risk. It's not a term that I like. It just explains the sug of what I'm talking about. There's an organization that deals with some of the kids that need some more love. So a friend of mine who's a big tzaddik, and he's very involved. And he helps. He's a volunteer. He runs around. He helps. So he tells me this story one time, and I have not told the story once without being brought to tears, so I apologize in advance. He said there was a kid that, sometimes it happens, the oldest kids are all like the mutzlachim, they're doing great, and there's a kid in the middle having a hard time in school. Rebbe say, why can't you be more like your brother, as if that's supposed to be helpful. And then as soon as he hears that enough times, he goes, you know what? And he gets in a fight with his parents. It gets a little harder. And one day he gets into a really big fight with his parents. He walks out the house and says, I'm never coming home. That's it. He runs away. Parents go crazy. His mom calls up this guy and says, you got to find my son. You got to find my son. He's a very smart guy with a couple of texts. It's a couple of key friends. He finds him. He tells the mom he's okay. He's here. Don't worry. He's okay. A couple of days later, he picks him up. And the kid goes, I'm not going home. He goes, come on, your parents. He goes, I am not walking into my house again. Period. So he stays by his house. And he does subtle diplomacy. Anyone remembers Henry Kissinger? Subtle diplomacy. Back and forth, back and forth. After a few days and nothing moving, he gets a call from the father. And the father says to the guy, come over. I want to give you something to give to my son. So the kid comes over, my friend comes over, and the father walks downstairs, his eyes still red, hands the son an envelope. And he says, give this to my son. Takes the envelope, goes to his house, hands it to the kid. The kid sits on the couch, opens the envelope, reads it, looks up and goes, okay, I'm going home. The guy goes, okay, great. Puts him in the car, drives him home. Kid gets out of the car and goes, okay, bye. I don't know what the father said. Kid walks into the house. And on the chair, on the seat, the driver's seat, he left the letter. So he's staring at that letter. He's like, what do I do? It's not my letter, but it's the magic letter. This is like, like the word, I don't know what kind of name of Hashem was written in that letter. So he pulls aside, he pulls out of the driveway, pulls around the corner, and he looks at the letter. And this is what the letter said. It said, dear son, I said the kid's real name. And it said, I love you just for you. Nothing else. We miss you.
we forgive you. Please come home. Why don't we feel this way for God? Why don't we walk around and feel in love with Him? Why? Because I think deep down, we are not fully convinced that He loves us for us. Not for the tzaddik that we're going to be. Not for the person that we ultimately may become one day. For us. For our failures. For our problems. For our family. For our ups and for our downs. For me. I'm not the best this. I'm not the best that. I'm not my brother. I'm not my sister. I'm not my friend who's always perfect. I'm just a regular person. And why in the world would the creator of the universe look down from all His wonderful people and say, why does He look at me? So we walk into this period of time and it's like, can I scream loud enough to maybe get into the D book? That makes sense for us. It makes sense that we're not special enough to be considered a tzaddik, to be the apple of His eye, to have Him walk around with our picture in His wallet. That makes sense to us. I'm just regular. Why in the world would God be crazy about me? And we are convinced that this isn't the system that we're going to flourish in. He doesn't love us just for us. He loves us if. It's conditional. And as soon as we allow ourselves to believe that God's love is conditioned on anything, it's hard for us to go all in on Him. It's hard for us to go all in on my wife if she loves me if. It's hard for me to go all in on my mom if she loves me if. It's hard for me to go all in on my kids if they love me if. But as soon as I realize they love me, period, for me, then the least I can do is love them right back. The challenge of this month is that one feeling. The challenge of this month is getting real with this. That He loves us for us. Because if we can get real with this, I'll tell you, I don't know if I told this story here, and I don't remember anymore. I was driving with my son across, I don't know if I tell you the story in New Jersey. I don't remember. I was driving with my son to New Jersey, not sure why. I had to go to New Jersey, thank God I got over there within 6 hours, across the GW. And as I got over the GW, I tell my kids, I have a practice of telling my children that every time we cross a bridge, I say, I take my kids, look outside, I say, look how beautiful Hashem created the world. Like, I want my kids to realize that Hashem's awesome. So I cross the thing, and I tell my son, at that point he was very little, I said, Moshe, look how beautiful Hashem created the world. And Moshe, my son, looks at me, he's a little kid, I don't know, he's 5, 6, 7, turns to me and he says, Daddy, it's so funny. You said Hashem created that. You know, in yeshiva, every morning I pray, and I say, Baruch Atah Hashem. Same name, different person. And I'm like, no, same person. He goes, no. In yeshiva, I say, Baruch Atah Hashem. That Hashem is the same name as the person who created that. I'm like, Moshe, same thing. He goes, wait, the Hashem that is the... I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh, that is awesome. He goes, can I borrow your cell phone and call my friends? We don't even appreciate it. And I'm thinking, as I'm driving going, that's so childish. I'm thinking, holy cow. The creator of the universe cares about me? I'm a nobody. Just me? The creator of the universe cares about my life? If it was good or bad, or said this or said that. Like, He can actually take the time to return a phone call? It must be that He loves me. And if we go through this month and we don't get that, we're missing it. Let me read to you a piece from a Rav named Tzvi Meyer from Israel. Here's what he writes. V'zehu Iker ha'avoda. This is the core work. Shalanu b'dorenu. You want to know what our generation's task is? You want to know what our fight is for as a generation? Ki b'dorenu Iker ha'avoda. He laharbos b'machshavos shel ahava. The core work that we need to do, the avoda, the worship that we need to fight for, that we need to struggle with, is not just saying more Hebrew words. It's to get and understand the understandings of love.
Lischor, to remember. As Gadol Ahavas Hashem Osanu, to realize how much Hashem loves us. Kamo shekatuv Baal Shem Tov, like the Baal Shem Tov says, She'al Yidei Hesbonus Matana Shel Ahava Rabba, from understanding how much He loves us. You ready for this? Neitzeis mehagalus. You want to know how we're going to end this gullus? How we're getting out of all these problems? One way. We believe He loves us. We realize how valuable we are. We realize that our life, He carries the picture of us in His wallet. So how does it work? Then what happens in the judgment? So with this I'll conclude, which I think is the most powerful piece I've ever read in my life when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, from a rabbi named the Nesiva Shalom. Yeah, here's what he says. And with this I'll end. Mi'amar Chazal. Chazal say, Gimel Svarim Niftachim B'Rosh Hashanah. There are 3 books. We know this one, right? 3 books. Tzadikim Gemurim, the Tzadikim, the ones we usually don't get into. Nechtavim v'nechtamim la'alter l'chaim. These are the ones that are written forever in life. Hainu, how does it work? Sheposchim shlosha sefarim chadashim. Every year, God opens 3 new books. Shekol echad, and every one of us, Roshem es atzmo l'shana hachadasha be'ezeh shirotza. Every one of us writes down our names in the book that we want. This is an evaluation. God's not up there going, which book should I put you in? He gives us the pen and says, which book do you want to put your name in? This isn't an evaluation. This is a self-evaluation. You choose the book that you want to be in. You want to be put in the book of Tzadikim? Write your name in the book. What does that mean? If you accept upon yourself, l'shana hachadasha, on the next year, lios nimne min tzadikim, to be considered one of the tzaddikim. And what does that mean? That means that you fulfill your task. That means you become you, the real you. That means you take your life and you go, I'm giving it to you right now. I am on a mission. My life isn't just because. And I'm not here just randomly. There's a purpose of my existence, and I am dedicating myself to figure out that purpose. I am in. Just that. Al yedei zeh. If you could do that on Rosh Hashanah, God says, for this. This isn't Charlie Wright, this is a real guy. You're written in the book of life. The good book. Who are the D's and the F's? These are people that not interested in filling their tafkid. They're just interested in getting stuff. The choice we make and the prep of this month is one thing, is being real. If we're ready to be real, if we're ready to look over to the Creator and say, here's the story. I'm not perfect, but it's okay. You're not looking for perfection. You're looking for commitment, and I am in. Last year was last year. From now on, I'm in. My life is meaningful. I'm here to give it to you. I don't know what that means and where we go, but I'm telling you one thing. This year is going to be different. That decision puts you in the good book. It is my bracha to all of us that we realize how valuable we are, that we realize how beloved we are, that we literally look into this year as the beginning of a relationship with God that we ultimately always want. That we treat Him the way He belongs to be treated, and ultimately we realize how special we are, and that we should be zocheh to live a happy life, to live a good life, and ultimately to be written in the book of life. Thank you so much.